Welcome to the Situation Today podcast. My name is Gareth Van Sale and I'm the group editor of Gulf Business. And with me, I've got my co-host, Ravi K. Ravi, can you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Gareth. Great to be here. My name is Ravi K. Ranjan. I have been an entrepreneurship evangelist for a long time. You might know me with my association with Shark Tank India, where I was the curator and business advisor for the show. I have been working with startup ecosystem across the world for the last 12 years and very, very excited to be here for this series and look forward for some really interesting conversation today.
And of course, we've also got our very special guest, Mahmoud Bartawi. Mahmoud, can you please introduce yourself to our listeners as well?
Sure. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me, guys. I think it's really interesting what we're doing, and I really want to educate the startup system. I myself am, I had a startup. I used to be a corporate banker, left corporate banking to do my startup. We expanded to 5 countries, and then we eventually exited. And I'm here today to share my story with you guys and everyone listening, and hopefully people benefit from the knowledge that I accumulated over my exit with my startup. So thank you for having me, guys.
Absolutely. And the reason why there are 2 hosts, because you have so much information, it's not to intimidate you. It's definitely to make sure that we are able to get some of these really true insights out of you, and our audience from across the world would be able to, to learn these things. Gareth.
So, Mahmoud, I think let's start with your startup journey and where it all began. A lot of people watching this podcast might be familiar with some of the things that you've done, for example, with Kitopi. But can you give us just some insights into where you've come from and how you've got to where you are now?
Sure. So 10 years ago, I was looking at, I was going to the gym, trying to be healthy and looking for healthy food. There weren't enough options around me. I approached a couple of healthy food brands and asked them if they would franchise me their location. Basically, I pay them a down payment, and they give me the know-how of how to copy paste an existing healthy food brand. So I went to Subway, they rejected me. I went to another local healthy food brand. They said, no, you don't have the experience. So just a bit about myself. I was a corporate banker at the time. I had about 5 years of experience in corporate banking at actually the biggest bank here. I worked for Emirates, NBD, Fab, among the corporate banks that I worked for. And at the same time, I had this problem about looking for healthy food, not finding enough options. And that became, the motivator for me to, and when I got rejected by a couple of healthy food brands, that was the motivator for me to actually start a healthy food brand. And that was the beginning of my startup journey, a healthy food brand. I managed to get a really good co-founder with me, and then it became 2. And we kind of grew the brand to more than just Dubai and the UAE, to include Saudi, Iraq, US, UK, and I think Kuwait. And I think that, the startup journey was pretty interesting. We started with franchising. We initially thought that we would franchise locations. So we franchised in Iraq. We franchised in Dubai a few units. We almost franchised, well, we franchised in Saudi. But before execution, we got interrupted by Kitopi Kitchens, who came with a really novel idea of dark kitchens. And we saw dark kitchens as franchising 2.0, in the sense, you could go into a market much easier if someone would give you a location and an ability to actually sell your brand in the market before you go all in and do a physical branch. So that was kind of that's kind of the startup story in a really short, but I'm happy to share,
That's really wonderful. Mahmoud, typically when we say healthy food, people think boring, people think vegetables, people think just salad. What is your motivation? Because you're a fit person.
Thank you.
I'm sure it must have taken a lot of effort to find food which is healthy, tasty at the same time. Do you want to share with us, how did you build the brand?
You're absolutely right. It was a big problem, actually. When I spoke to some friends and said, I go to the gym and I eat Subway and it's like healthy food, they're like, healthy? Like, is there something wrong with you? Like, this is, the perception is it comes in a white box and it's healthy and there's no taste. It's just chicken and rice. So I knew I didn't know how to cook, but I knew that food could taste better. So I had this idea about creating a healthy food brand. I just didn't know how to start it. The place I had my food from all the time, Subway and this other brand, were not giving me their franchise because I don't have experience in running a franchise, and I got rejected. So what I did was actually I went and franchised a non-healthy food brand. So I went to a brand in Dubai called German Doner Kebab, and I said, "Can I be your franchisee?" And to my luck, I was the first franchisee of this brand. So they sold basically doner kebab, which is kind of like a shawarma, but like a glorified one.
Mhm.
I took it, ran the branch for 1 year, got the experience I needed, and then sold it back to the franchisor at break even. So I didn't really make any money on the transaction, but I got more than that. I got the experience. With that experience, I thought, how do I now take something that's not cool and make it super cool? So the thing I knew was that I was not a branding guy. So I thought, how do I find someone that's really good at branding and partner with them? So I couldn't find that. I went to someone I knew that did branding, and that person said to me after working with me for 2 months, said, how about I become your partner? And that was the beginning of the journey of Under 500. Under 500 became a brand that scaled to more than 5 countries. Under 500, the way we thought about it, well, Fadi, my co-founder at the time, said, the average BMR of a human being is 1,800. So BMR is your base metabolic rate.
Absolutely.
And it's what you need to stay. So for Mahmoud, on average, to be, the input is the height, weight, gender, and how much you exercise. If you go online, you put BMR calculator, if you put these 4 inputs, it'll tell you 1,800 on average. Now, depends on the input. It might go up and down. But we thought if we got a brand and we called it Under 500, and a user had 3 meals a day, so 500, 500, 500, he would still be below the 1,800 threshold of an average person and would get hooked on the brand.
Absolutely.
And the name Under 500 is timeless. You could take it to any market. It's anything. So basically, 70% of the menu could be from Dubai, 30% could be a local original. And there's no there's no like, it's not cuisine specific. It's nothing. It can be any cuisine as long as you count the calories. It's under 500 calories. And the way we started is we got a fine dining chef from a famous restaurant in JBR called Tribeca, and we got a nutritionist, and we put them in the room. We said to the fine dining guy, kept fighting with the nutritionist because she kept cutting, stuff off the, there's 2 ways to reduce calories. It's either portion control or it's changing ingredients. So something that was really boring became something done by a fine dining chef that became really exciting for people to get hooked on. And that's kind of how we slowly created that traction, took something not cool and made it cool. And the second part was getting really cool influencers to work with. So in a game of branding, you need to work with people that already, a fitness person. So the way we looked at it was that when people want to get healthy, they usually go down the journey of going to the gym. The gym has the bigger budget for marketing. The person goes to the gym, he's standing he chooses the person who looks the best, usually the best looking guy or a girl, and they say, can you train me? Now the trainer knows one thing. What the trainer knows is that 70% of the way you look is based on what you eat. So the trainer puts you on what's called a meal plan.
Absolutely.
And the problem at the time was that these meal plans, they had an average life of 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
After 2 months, the food tasted so bad because it was not cooked to order, it was pre-cooked. So what we knew was that cooked food sells better than pre-cooked. So that's kind of how we innovated. We created a brand that allowed people at the top of the funnel that wanted to go healthy, that didn't want to commit to a 2-month plan. So we wanted the top of the funnel. If you think about it, here, I want to go healthy. Here's Under 500. They can deliver 1 meal and I can pay 1 time and it tastes really good. And that was kind of the story of how we penetrated the market. And, we got people that weren't eating healthy to actually eat healthy. So that for me was, the motivator was when I saw my own friends that were making fun of me and saying, how can you call a brand 500? Like, that's a number in a name. Now that brand speaks to them and they eat from it. So that was the change that I felt, to get the nation healthier. For me was a big, and I was the first user. So I was actually looking for a solution for myself. I think for a startup, if you're solving a problem for yourself, the motivator doesn't become money. It becomes, how can I become better? And then share that with the people around me. Through the journey, we had Under 500, we had gym food. We had about 15 brands that we tried. And each brand was a different average ticket. So in Saudi, they didn't understand what under 500 meant at the time. We would get a DM from different people on our Instagram, and they would say, reply, Mahmoud, like, what are you going to tell that Saudi guy that doesn't know what under 500 is? So then we said, what if we created a brand on a virtual kitchen and tried it out, and we called it Gym Food? And the logo is just a muscle of someone, right? So the person looking at it would say, that's for me. And Gym Food, the price point was 40, the average ticket, under 500 was 60. So, we brought down the price a bit. But I think, different variations of healthy is our customer. How and branding in the end for us is just a way to get someone to understand the offer, right? If you don't brand your offer properly, nobody gets it. And, you should be agile. You should be able to, adapt your brand to a market. That's kind of what we learned through the experience.
So, Mahmoud, talking about customers,
right?
A lot of our audience might be looking at this and wondering to themselves, well, how do I go about in my startup getting that first
customer?
First customer, right?
Right.
How did you go about doing that?
So, I think for every business, in different variations, whether it's technology or food, before you go investing a lot of resources into it, you need to have proof of concept. Your proof of concept can be, well, for us, it was a food tasting at home. So I had invited my friends over. We got this Italian chef and a nutritionist to make that food, and I would invite people over and get them to try it, and I would see if someone wants to buy it. So first of all, I would say anyone doing a startup in a traditional, in a sense, go create something, give it out to your neighbors for free, and leave a small note saying, "This is my contact. If you want to buy this or if you want this again, contact me." And if someone comes back, so I have 10 neighbors that live down the street, if 3 of those people come back and say, "I want to pay you for that," then you know you have a product. Then you think about, so that's sales and marketing, right? Then you think about second part, which is scale, which is how do I reduce the costs on my product? How do I, scale this product? The first thing you need to do is to understand if you have demand. That healthy food dish that you think tastes good might not taste good to everyone else. Or that tech product that you're trying to build, it might not work. People might not see value. How do you create, for example, even if it's paid through meta ads, how do you get someone to download and give you feedback? That feedback loop is super important. I think the beginning of everything is a A/B test. It can be a A/B test, when we were launching, for example, Gym Food, we A/B tested that logo. We launched the brand 20 times with different logos, and we saw which one gets the person to click. And if you move process by process, there is a process that you can do to actually scale any kind of startup. So it starts with free samples, gauge interest, find out how much you need to reiterate. What do you need to change? Do you need to change? Is someone willing to pay $50 for that burger? Is someone willing to pay $5 a month for that product? So the first thing is to understand, is that product in need? Is there a need for that product? Do people, are they going to pay for it? Or is it just going to be, a lot of founders I see, they give out 100 free samples. No one buys. They go to 1,000 free samples. Again, no one buys. They think they're growing their startup and they're raising money, but they're not solving a problem.
I think this makes a lot of sense. It might sound very old school and boring, but I think doing research is very, very important, and making sure that, so there's something called an entrepreneur bias. When you're building something, you fall in love with your idea. You think like, oh, it's my baby.
Yeah.
And you stop listening to people, even if the feedback is true and correct. You are like, no, you are wrong. For example, I personally lost almost 20 kg weight. I did really hard work, and I spoke to my dietitian, and we followed a very traditional Indian, school of thought on how to lose weight. But it was very hard. I mean, I used to drink green vegetable juice and all of that with people. It's crazy, right? I wanted to do it.
But good job, 20 kilos.
Thank you. But what I'm trying to say is that all my friends, when I told them my plan, they were like, "You're crazy. How can you do that? It's impossible." So while it worked for me, it might not work for masses. And when you're building a healthy food brand, let's say you are a healthy person, you love living healthy.
Yeah.
Not everyone does, right? It's not so easy. That is where the entrepreneur bias kicks in, and you start thinking that, okay, if it works for me, it will work for everyone. And that's where you actually are kind of closing doors on success.
Yeah.
So what you did is very interesting, and I must share with you. I had no idea about your brand, but I have ordered in the last week twice from under 500, and I was really impressed with the kind of packaging and the food and actual taste. It's really amazing job. I have a question, Mahmoud, here. UAE is is a wonderful place when it comes to food and cuisine. You have option to get almost every possible cuisine,
Right.
global cuisine, the local Emirati cuisine,
Yes.
regional Arabic cuisine. Like I love going out once a while and having the hummus and muhammara. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is that UAE has so many restaurants, thousands of them. Even if
Yeah.
you eat at a new restaurant every day, it might take you many years to finish all of it. How easy or how difficult it was to build a brand in this crowded space, and what would be your message to people who are trying to build a food business in this market?
Okay, so the first thing is about the entrepreneurial bias, and the second question is on how do you build that brand. With regard to the entrepreneurial bias, I agree with you. It's there. That's why you should be careful who you invite to the food tasting. In the beginning, what I did was invite my friends and family. But the truth is, none of them wanted to get healthy. So save your money, don't do the brand. If you're going to lose money, I know someone that lost money. So all of them out. Now, that's stage one where I understood that entrepreneurial bias, everyone's trying to help me and my family, but they're actually demotivating me. But when I got people that went to the gym, so I would go to the gym and say, hey, here's a free sample. Can you give me your address so I can deliver it to you? And I would deliver that sample to the person, or I would tell them, invite them to a place where I could do a food tasting. If I get feedback from my target market, it's relevant. If you get feedback from not your target market, it's actually irrelevant. But when you get feedback from your target market, you need to reiterate your product.
Absolutely. Airbnb reiterated almost 12 times before they became successful. And I have saw so many interviews. They said that, listen, when we started Airbnb, we had no idea this would scale this way. But they were always listening to their customer feedback.
Exactly.
And they kept on working on that before the model became successful. And one time when people across the world, especially hotel owners, were making fun of Airbnb, saying that, why will somebody go and stay at someone's house?
Right.
But they realize the market opportunity and look at Airbnb today.
Yeah. So you were talking earlier about entrepreneurship and how to you said how to launch in the market.
So my question was, the second question is, it's a very crowded space.
Yeah.
A lot of opportunity, but very crowded. How do you build a food business and how do you scale it?
I think food business is saturated. I think looking at trends, you can see what's working and what's not. I would, for example, if you asked me today, I wanted to do a food startup, I would go to an aggregator. Well, I think this term is not very common, but like a Deliveroo or Uber Eats or someone that's in touch with many brands, and ask them, where is their demand?
Sure.
Is it chicken? Is it meat? Is it fish? And then from there, you understand what protein it is, or if it's vegan. So there was a trend on vegan a while ago. A lot of vegan brands came out, but they would have that information. And then based on the trend, if you can differentiate, it's about creating a differentiator that gets people hooked on your brand. You need signature dishes. If it's something that anyone can do at home, then you're kind of, So you need to have a few signature dishes, which is, again, differentiators in any business. You need to be a little bit different. So someone tries you, and you need to have that willingness to keep reiterating. So as long as it can be anything. Like, it's very rare that you reach a point that you can't do better. So it's the same thing with food. You market it, you understand it. You can have 30 items, you can have 300 items that become 30. So it depends, how much work do you want to do to get to a final product that actually works. And you'll be surprised, some of the products that work on our menu, like, we would introduce a product into our menu. If it did really well, we would take it and create a sub-brand on an aggregator, just a virtual brand. So like an SI brand but the same thing, we would ask, because we had a brand already with Deliveroo and Zomato and the other brands here, we understood what was selling and what was not. And then we take that and create a separate brand around it, a product. But if I didn't have a brand, I would approach a Zomato, someone there, and say, what is selling? What do people like? What are the brands? And they might say chicken brands today. But usually people have a bias already before they do a brand. Like, I like pizza, I want to do a pizza brand. And usually the person that does the brand is a chef and doesn't understand sales and marketing. That's why we see a lot of places closing down. So sales and marketing, operations. It's not the operations first. It's the sales and marketing first for anything. You need to have a person that understands the market and how to get in.
Very interesting. You have a question on sales and marketing?
Yes.
For Mahmoud.
Mahmoud, I think, obviously looking at sales and marketing, a lot of businesses, and you've spoken about getting their first customer, right? That's one of the most important things. But do you think that businesses here in the UAE and entrepreneurs here are patient enough and willing enough to really test things out over a period of time, like just like you've done, where you've experimented, you've tried certain things, you've done A/B testing? Is there that patience and resilience that exists there to be able to do that here?
I think the passion and the resilience is there. What I see is not enough time. So most people are here, doing full-time jobs, and they kind of want to outsource the entire startup. They don't realize that you got to put in hours on the weekend. You got to put in time after work. If you want to do a startup and have a full-time job, which is, it's double the job. It's not the other way around where you outsource it to someone. What usually happens, what I see, a lot of people will go get a chef and tell him, here's some money, I want to create a brand. That's cool as a hobby, but if you want to compete against someone else that's going full on, it's going to be very, very difficult. So you can have a home business that you run out of your kitchen just for fun, and you have a couple of people at home help you, and that's one way of doing it. But if you want to, you got to put the time aside. You have to put the time aside to learn and to research. Who are my competitors? How many restaurants are around me? Where is the perfect location? Do I want to do a delivery or a dine-in brand? Who do I want? Who are my customers? What do I want to serve them? I think if you think about each and every point in terms of, I would say sales and marketing. If you even got interest from people, I want a pizza brand that's a square pizza like Pinza, for example. I want that. It was a brand that was out before. And you got someone to say, okay, then you could go backwards and get someone in the world to give you a square pizza or whatever you want. So I would, always stress on do that market initial thing. Like, what stops you from taking an Excel sheet and going on Google and putting healthy food or I want to do a car workshops, and Google will give you each and every car workshop, right, by location, and I can make a list, and from that list you'll start seeing patterns. They're all in a certain area. This area charges a certain price, but you need to start putting things together in perspective and document it for you to get that learning. Like, nobody would tell you that today the highest charging car showroom is in this place or car workshop is in this place unless they're in the business. So how do I go meet people in the business? So do I take one step back and start posting on my LinkedIn about car businesses so someone knows that when I come to meet them, they've seen me pushing articles? But what I really want to do is do a workshop. But I got interest, I got someone to come talk to me about it, I get information, and I start building my Google Sheets and actually analyzing. I think it goes way before, people see a product and they think that product just came out. That's not how it works.
I have a question around finding unique business models in food business. So 10 years ago, there was no Kareem Talabat, Deliveroo, Zomato, right?
Yeah.
People had to put in a lot of money, build a nice looking restaurant, hire people, and then your occupancy rate might be 40%. You can pray for it, right?
If you get 40, you're good, yeah.
Today, things have changed, right? You can build a dark kitchen. You can just dish out from your garage, and you have these partners helping you. While they take a lot of commission, people are not happy about it, but you can build a business.
Yeah.
At the same time, there are, again, so what is happening is that you had restaurant, you had fine dining, you had casual, you had QSR, and then the food delivery came in.
Right.
Today, that's also getting saturated. There are now new business models requirement where people can, primarily my question is on two sides. One is a tech side of food business, one is a food business. We already spoke about the food business. I'm coming to the tech side of food business. So let's say instead of building a food brand, I look at 2,000 food brands and look at their problem. What is their problem? Their problem is that they need a team which can take care of their social media. They need a team which can help them optimize their menu across channels. They need a team which can help them build new recipes. If you do that, you are not competing with those 2,000 brands. You are actually working with them and making money from all of them. Yeah. What's your thought on this?
I think it's right. Sell them services, B2B, right? That's why I said sales and marketing. If you had two co-founders for that project, one could take care of the sales and marketing and find out venues and stuff, and the other person could pay attention to the operations and do it. So yes, if they don't have that, they should definitely look to outsource. But I would say better to have it on the founding team. Mm-hmm. So, if I was a startup guy and I knew I was getting into food business, what are the things in the food business? You need someone to do the operation, and then you need someone to do the marketing. Sales and marketing more important because that branding and stuff, can go on a dark kitchen even before having the products. Like,
Absolutely.
And I would say, yes, the things that we didn't do together and we didn't want to learn together, we would hire someone to do. So most companies have shared services. So the way I see it, sales and marketing, operations, everything else. So outsourcing your marketing, I don't know how to say this, but like if you're outsourcing your marketing,
A little tricky.
it's a little tricky, right? Like someone else's marketing.
But maybe let's say performance marketing or specialized social media content creation or specialized influencer campaign. Maybe that can be a non-integral part of marketing that can be outsourced.
You need ambassadors. People connect with humans.
Mm.
So either you're the ambassador of the brand, like if you're doing a healthy food brand, or you're the person that's on the camera, or you're going and getting influencers. So, we had
For example, Burak. Sizian Burak.
Right.
He's the face. He's the brand.
Yeah.
People go to his restaurant because they have
Exactly.
seen him.
Exactly. So we had a problem, actually. I'll give you guys a real life example that
Sure.
happened. I went to, we were scaling with Kitopi to Saudi and to Kuwait. And they said, come, we're going to open these kitchens there and we want you to do the food tasting and we prepare the food for you. And my assignment was to find out how we could get the marketing done. And I'll tell you, for example, an example that talks about this point, where I made a list of the top 10 companies in Kuwait and in Saudi. I went to these companies, top 3 companies. I took a plane, went there, visited them. They all the top 3 companies gave me a quote of 15 to 20,000 a month on a retainer. And they said, we'll give you a list of influencers. You're going to make a deal with them. So I said, what is the deal with the influencer? They said they might want 5,000 dirham per post and you might have to give them some free food. So I said, yeah, but I can go online and find those guys. They said, yeah, but like this is the service we do. So that was in Kuwait. Then I go to Saudi. I don't want to bring up names, but the top 3 guys in Riyadh said to me, 15 to 20,000, and they showed me an office full of people and really nice office. But I came back to Dubai, I thought 40,000 dirham per month, and then I got to pay on top of it. So usually when you have a problem and you want to, the thing is to just pay. But what we thought about was, no, how do we find that customer? What we did is we thought the only way to get that customer was to have an influencer. And the only way to get the influencer, what we did is we went and found all those new locations that were going to open in Kuwait and Saudi. And we found the top 3 gyms around the location. And then we would go on Instagram to the top 3 gyms and see anyone that tagged themselves to the gym. And then anyone that tagged themselves to a gym who has more than 10,000 followers, we started making offers.
Amazing.
The guy above the 100,000 wants money. So we focused on micro-influencers. What if we gave a guy who has 50,000 followers meals? Then we thought, okay, we'll give you a meal, but we don't want you to blow the whole budget on one meal. We want 20 pictures of you. So then we said each meal is 100 dirham. Here's a discount voucher. You go online, you put it, and you get your meal. And we started tracking how many times they would post. If an influencer in Saudi or Kuwait would eat the food, we would see the order and didn't post on his Instagram. We would check after, we'd replace them. By the end of it, we had collected 200 people. When you have 200 people that can do a job, getting the funding is super easy.
That's amazing,
I don't know if that makes
Mahmoud.
sense.
I think you need to start a social media company next. You're so good at it.
Thank you.
So, Mahmoud, I want to ask, for people who are listening to what you're saying, and they're thinking to themselves, how do I get into a crowded market like Mahmoud has done and set up and create a successful business that grows and eventually I'm able to exit it, just like you've done? What pointers or advice would you give them, especially in a market like the UAE?
So are we talking about food or non-food? Everything.
Food, non-food. Is there any kind of philosophical advice that you've gained out of this experience?
Yeah, I would say think about your exit before you start. I know that's super it sounds daunting. It doesn't sound so cool, but if you're doing a B2C brand, you need to think about who wants those customers. If you're doing a B2B brand, you usually get a contract. So say, for example, there's a company that does airplane rides from Dubai to Maldives. The company from Dubai to Maldives takes people, for example, their innovative idea is they take the airplane, they remove all the seats, and they make it only business class seats. That's the innovation. And they sell you a good business class experience on a lower ticket. that company wants to go to Maldives. They do trips to Maldives. The problem is in Maldives, the interflights are too expensive. And the customer has to pay here and then pay there through the hotel. So this company has the customer. They want someone to innovate the interflights. So this company is able to give a contract to someone to develop that. How do you get the contract from the company? And then you get a $5 million contract. Should you get a hydrogen boat, or do you want to develop a speedboat or a helicopter? How do you get people on Maldives to move around? So the innovation is there, but you need to have a contract from the supplier who has the customers for you to be able to get funding to find the solution in Maldives. I hope my example is not too complicated, but the idea is the guy who has the problem needs to vouch for you and say, hey, you know what? You're solving a problem for me. And that's usually the guy that buys you out.
Interesting. And can you tell me more about the buyouts that you experienced?
Right. So I was, for us, we basically, it was a 7-year journey. 3 years before the end of the journey, actually, we had a discussion with Kitopi Kitchens, and, it was pretty straight up. They said, we're interested in scaling your brand for you, and, maybe at some point we will buy you out. So again, that conversation, having it early, they knew we were ambitious. We were looking at franchising. We were on a couple of their dark kitchens, and they said, look, like, you gotta, choose, and because they wanted to, expand through buying out brands. They're a B2B business. We're a B2C business. So we work together, and we worked it out. They said, okay, this is what we're looking for, and this is what we need from you. And you kind of like make a deal, because you need to solve a problem for someone to buy you. No one's just gonna, like, that relationship needs to be created. It's not that you go to someone and they buy your company in one day. Even if they do, even if they say they would, there's a due diligence, and they need to be knowing what you're doing, how you're doing it, everything. If I was to buy something that's worth a few $1,000,000, if I was going to buy a shirt, I might try it on. If I'm going to buy something for a few $1,000,000, right, I would obviously. So that conversation needs to happen. I did it 3 years before the end of the 7 years. If I was to do a business today, I would have the conversation from the beginning. I would go to the guy that takes people from Dubai, charters flights to Maldives, and tell him, do you want someone to solve a problem for your interflights in Maldives? Is that a problem for you? He says, yeah, half of my revenue goes there. I can give you a contract to develop that plane or that helicopter or hydrogen-based or whatever it is, that the solution that beats the current price. So you have a reason to do what you're doing from a commercial point of view. Even if you always want to develop something, you need to know who would buy it, right? Say if you choose any business and tell me, I could give you an example of like how you could find someone that has a problem.
So I think finding the problem is probably only 50% of the job, isn't it? The other 50% is actually implementing,
right,
and building out a business
Absolutely.
that then does that.
I have a thought on this. Back in India and a lot of other places, I have met hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs and business owners. A lot of times, what is happening is that people are confusing a small business with an entrepreneur. While every business at the end of the day is doing good work, but an entrepreneur comes with a different mindset.
Right.
They think absolutely different from a business owner. And I think what you are talking about makes a lot of sense. I have seen founders come with a good business model. They raise a lot of capital. They start taking shortcuts. They start kind of cutting slack on things like marketing is outsourced, technology is outsourced.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You, however, I have seen, based on our conversation, you're very hands-on. You want to understand the game, because a lot of people want to really learn from the experience which you did. What would be your advice to a lot of people who are trying to build their startup? What all you can outsource? What you need to make sure that you do in-house? Do you really need money when you start, or do you need to find good co-founders and good solutions?
Okay, so that's a really interesting question. I think, the normal thing we hear from startups is, I would do this if I had more money. Or they would say something like, I just want the VC to give me $1 million, right?
And everything is sorted.
Everything is sorted, right? His startup is done. He got it funded. But what would you do with that $1 million if you got it? You would hire people to do the job. And that startup founder who thinks he shouldn't do anything, that's not really he's going to get money to hire people. But what if you don't have that $1 million? How do you start, right? So people have skills. So let's do a real life example today. We want to name a business. Let's say we want to do...
so you want to do a luxury car.
A luxury car, okay? a luxury car business would have an operational element and a sales and marketing element,
Absolutely.
right? So imagine I said, hey, I don't have that VC to give me $1 million. And I said, but I still want to do this. I'm good at sales and marketing, right? Everyone has a skill. So you're either on sales and marketing or you're on operations. All the extra, CFO, HR guy, all that stuff is third in line. You don't really need that to start. So the car would need, for example, someone to do a market research. It would need someone to market, to create that branding, to sit and send out, people invitations. Are you interested to join? To create that traction, community, marketing, whatever you want to call it. And there's someone else that needs to operate. Someone needs to actually bring those cars and make it happen. So can I do everything on my own? It's a bit difficult to believe, right?
Very difficult.
Imagine I came to you and you were someone that's passionate about cars. You built a few cars, or you imported a few cars, or you had some operational experience. And you said, look, I really think that this could work. I always wanted to do it. I put a LinkedIn ad and you clicked on it and I saw you and we had the same common values. So the first thing is values. Second thing, skill set. Like you're adapting, are interested in, I'm interested in this part. We are working together. So do you really need $1 million?
Not really.
Not really. For a proof of concept, we might need to get some customers on Meta ads to click on our funnel on the website to qualify them to buy a product, which is a ticket to a car event where we have 2 cars that want to be in the showroom one day. So how do you create an MVP, a minimum viable product that only you pay third-party marketing out? Internally, you should be able to do all the jobs. Can I not learn to do a pitch deck in 2 weeks, in 3 months, in 3 years?
Absolutely, you can.
How many videos are there on YouTube
Yes.
about doing pitch decks? Why do I need to outsource my pitch deck? Why do I need to outsource my business model? Can I not put, if I'm the sales and marketing guy, I should be able to have some financial, I'm not saying you need everything to get an investor. You need a minimum viable product. What's the minimum that you need, right? You need someone to say, yes, I want this product, and to show the investor, look, here's a website with people registering to pay. So, classical example. And for the Cybertruck, Elon Musk collected $3 billion upfront, like $100 each from people interested in it. Just a booking fee.
Absolutely.
The product can come in 100 years, but people want to own, right? They put the 100. With that money, sales and marketing is what he's really good at, right? Even though people see him as an engineer, he's good at both. And he got all that that deposit, and he can develop a product with it. So that sales and marketing guy is to get the money up front. The ops guy is to. That's why between the two, the sales and marketing guy is, I would say, it's crucial that if you cannot market something or your product, if you don't have that skill, you need to work on it. You need to it can be trained. There's no magic to it.
So I think, Mahmoud, you mentioned something very important, which is that you've got your sales and marketing guy or girl, and you got your operational guy or girl, right? So as an entrepreneur, how do you go about finding that right co-founder with the right skills to complement what you're doing? So if you're the product person, you probably need to find somebody who's good at marketing and sales, right? Is that what you're looking for in those early phases?
Exactly. You're looking for a co-founder so that you don't need to pay because you don't have money. So how do you co-found with someone? We got something called an incubator. So for the people there that don't know what the incubator is, we understand the university. University, you pay money to get education. You have on the other end a venture capital who pays you money to buy into your product. In between both of them, the intersection, you have something called an incubator where people, it's not a university where you pay money to learn, but you can go there to meet a co-founder and learn a lot of things without paying. You pay with your time. And they might actually get you to the next stage, which is VC funded if you're really good. So it's called an incubator. There's a few of them in the UAE, I think in all countries in the world now. You're really good incubators. And usually startup people with exits or startup people train people that are interested in ideas. So you go to an incubator, the first thing you understand is that you need a co-founder because if I was to look at the top 100 companies in S&P 500 or, there's 4% that have single founders. Majority, well, almost all have multiple co-founders because even in the beginning, so let's talk about it this way. I'm an investor sitting on a table. I have 2 investment opportunities, both of them in something really attractive. One of them has a team of 3 people. I put $1 million, for example, as an investment. I get 3 people to work on the project, right? I'm investing and there's 3 people. The other one has 1 person. Even if he's super talented, There's an attitude problem for not getting a co-founder. Why are you not getting a co-founder? And what if you leave me tomorrow and you're one person? Also, so unless he's a co-founder who has a couple of exits, he's been through the journey, then if you're Elon Musk, you'll get funded. You don't need a co-founder. And he had, Zip in the beginning with co-founders. So PayPal had co-founders. No one just started solo. Steve Jobs got kicked out of Apple and came back. So there is no one-man hero unless you're looking at something really small scale. You want to be a chef in a restaurant, and now you want to go make a restaurant, but you don't want to focus on sales and marketing. You think it's just food. You're going to get eaten up.
So who is your co-founders, if I may ask?
So in my previous project, I had a really cool guy. There was no incubator at the time, believe it or not. I went to, I was in the American University of Sharjah, and I had a friend who, I knew him. We met a few times. We were not really friends, but I knew he went to American University of Dubai, and he did branding for some really cool companies. And I knew through a friend I could get in touch with him. So I got in touch with him, and we sat down, and he told me, here's what I charge. And I thought about, okay, you know what, I'll pay you for it. And we started working together. I introduced him to the whole, I told him, this restaurant balance sheet looks like this, and you need minimum 5,000 a day in sales for it to be viable. And because I had that experience from running a restaurant, he became interested. And when I saw that he had marketing and branding experience, he was more on the branding side. We kind of figured out the marketing ourselves together. On the branding experience, I thought, a restaurant, the branding is super important because people, they don't just eat the food. They, the name, the way the menu looks, the colors that you use, all of these are, people buy with their eyes also. It's not there's so many layers you need before you get to the food, right? You need a logo, you need a name, you need content, you need SEO. Those keywords on the name are very important. Is it a name that you can resonate with, or a name that's just because your favorite pet was called something, you now call, or your father likes a name for a brand, you go and put that brand, but it doesn't resonate with the target market. So, that I think branding is super important. And again, so how I found my co-founder was, I went, and then I was supposed to pay him. And then he said, if you do well in 1 year, I'm going to buy a restaurant in another area. Can you give me the way to do it? So I said to him, look, the failure of a business is in the first, 88% of businesses fail in the first 2 years. I said, and the majority of it comes in the first year. I'm like, so you want me to not accept, you're going to give me the work of branding for free, and you want me to take all the risk, and then you copy me for free? I said, that's not going to work. I said, if you want to join me, you join now, you take the risk with me, we put the money together, and in a year's time, we can franchise to other people. And then I told him a little bit about franchising, and then him and I decided to go meet the best franchise lawyer in town and get a franchise contract. So we start franchising even before 1 year of complete operations, just to show you how good our branding and our teamwork together as a team. I think it's about team. It's about 1 + 1 can be 3. There are days where you want to talk and you call your friend and he tells you talk about business too much. You need a co-founder to talk to. Who are you going to talk to if it works?
You're actually talking very, very important point. And for the last 12 years, I have seen this, and I have seen both from the founder side and the investor side. Number one, as a founder, it's a very long journey, a lonely journey where your friends, your family will abandon you. They're like, this guy's crazy. You're just talking about business, because they don't understand the passion you have.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, investors. I have worked with so many funds, and most of the time, your business plan, okay, model, okay, is the founding team powerful enough? Because the model might not work. We can use the same team to do something else. And this is all the VCs across the world. And most importantly, you need this co-founder or the founding team so that you can bounce off ideas, you can share your challenges, your opportunities, your success. I think this is a masterclass what you said in finding a good co-founder. I have a follow-up question, not on this, but a different topic. You have been talking about some very interesting point using social media, using meta ads, using ChatGPT. Unfortunately, what I have seen across the world is that the young generation, they are too much on social media, not able to take advantage of social media. Social media is taking advantage of them.
Right.
Do you have some thoughts on these young people who are just doing endless scrolling and not actually learning from social media?
Pretty simple. 1% are content creators, 99% are consumers. Which one are you? Yeah, you can sit and look at other restaurants all day. That's not going to help you do a restaurant. In your research stage, it's okay in the beginning. But you're going to spend your time focused on the competitor Why don't you be a content creator and start posting random dishes for people to try, random pictures, and seeing if there's AB going on, right? Why are you not a creator? Why are you a consumer all the time? So I have Instagram, I have LinkedIn.
Do you want to share maybe one interesting story of LinkedIn? How you used a LinkedIn post to get something which you thought might be very difficult?
Investors.
Wow.
The biggest thing that people want, right? How do I find an investor? Where do I find my first investor? And it's such a big word, and this VC thing, it sounds so like you think it's like a technical term, but it's really someone who's probably a startup guy that's looking for a company or a founder that he likes. So you're looking for funding for a project, right? Typical thing people do: ask a friend or go to LinkedIn and find someone that puts a cheat sheet with 1,000 investors. That's not the way you do it. That's not like. What if, for example, you wanted to do something in storage? Just a random topic, right? Something in storage. I want to raise money. I'm thinking about doing a new storage concept. People in Dubai need place to store stuff. I want to create a storage for them.
Airbnb for storage.
Airbnb for storage. I want to find a storage investor. First thing I'd do, I'd go to online and find similar companies that do it. I'd go and find someone that invested in a storage startup or a storage company. I'd go to them and tell them, send them a message and say, look, I want to talk to you and you to mentor me. You've done something and I want to create something. Out of 10 people, successful people, giving back is the thing they like to do.
Yes.
When you come as a student and you want to learn, and he tells you, by the way, I invested in a company really similar. He doesn't know you went to Crunchbase and checked and you know exactly who you're talking to, right? He's sitting with you sharing data, telling you how, and you might actually solve a problem for him and get a contract from him. He might actually say, look, I like your idea, I can't invest in your startup. Another VC passed on or didn't invest in this, but wants a chance to invest in that. But going to two people or one person that invested in something similar is different than blasting 100 people that have no idea who you are, what you're doing, what you're like. Why would an investor who invest in energy invest in a storage business? How did you make the decision that these guys, that it's like luck doesn't just happen. You have to create your luck. So one step before it, what if I went and started posting about other successful storage companies and what they did? Stories. What if I went and added people in those storage to create that, to find who's that guy that I want to talk to you? So you need to get into it using your social media by following those people, by understanding the what's it called, the jargon or the lingo that they use, right? Like in a storage space, they might say something completely different than someone who invested in SpaceX would talk about.
Absolutely.
If you're looking to do a rocket company, surround yourself by people from SpaceX or similar companies and just ask for advice. You never know how you find your investor, and it's usually through working hard in the right direction. It's not by random choice. You got to create that. If I wanted, for example, to do a rocket company, I'd start posting every day about rockets, about different technologies. I'd go start adding people in the industry. I'd go interview. I want to learn from you. I maybe do a podcast with them in today's world and get information. And at some point you will become that thought leader. You will understand what product to do. Like, it's not going to be, but if you're just away and you think an investor is going to give you the money, that's not going to happen.
I like your points on being a content creator, because it's not just investors that you can get.
Everything.
But also customers, right? So
Exactly.
if you're building up a tribe that follows you, those people could potentially buy from you down the line.
Exactly. And you surrounded yourself with the target market that's relevant to you. Because you start posting about something, right? Even if I don't have that SpaceX company or that storage company, if I'm posting about it, maybe the investor will know who I am. So when I go to him and ask him for advice, he'll say, okay, come, I want to advise you. I can't invest in you. But I know someone else who didn't invest in the company I invested in, Or here's what the company I invest in looks like. Go and beat them. And it happened to me before. From a VC, I wanted to invest in a company. He said, here's what the other company I invested in did. They didn't do so well. Change the concept that you're doing.
Yes. Because if you look at large funds like SoftBank, they go to a market, they would invest in Kareem, also in Uber. Like in India, they would invest in Ola and Uber as well. So what these large funds want, they want to make sure that they will invest in 4 similar companies, because at the end of the day, they want the winner to be in their portfolio. And that's why it's very important what you're saying is that you need to keep on posting content, which is not necessarily has to be business only. Talk about stories, talk about case studies, talk about failure, talk about success, because at the end of the day, you will be seen as a thought leader in that particular. You can talk about food, somebody can talk about cars, somebody can talk about content creation. when you actually need somebody to help you, people already know you, so it's
Exactly.
easier.
Exactly. You're coming to my office. I've read your post before.
Exactly.
And I think that as we begin to close out this fascinating discussion that we've had, I also wanted to ask you a personal question around your upbringing, because off air you told me about a story where your dad, for example, didn't give you pocket money, but there was a reason behind that, right? Can you tell us how that impacted your entrepreneurial journey that you've embarked on?
Sure. Growing up was my dad was an entrepreneur, so he kind of wanted me to like learn things by myself. When I was 13 years old, I asked him, I wanted a motorbike. I said, Baba, can you get me a motorbike? My friend has a motorbike. He said, you need to work to get your motorbike. So I never got my motorbike, by the way. It was just too expensive. But he said, if you join my company in the summer, he had a contracting company, and so I do a carpentry job for 3 months, fixing stuff. The next 3 months of the next year and 3 months in the summer, I did a steel job. The summer after, I did auto electrician job. So I would work to get that money and then start spending it in the 9 months that we're in school. So it taught me saving. It taught me that my dad would never give me pocket money, never to buy something I wanted. Yeah, he'd pay for my education, but anything I wanted to spend on was mine. I had to always come to him with a reason to take money from him. And the reason always got, if it wasn't like gonna make me money and I wasn't gonna do a job. So that kind of pushed me into, I went to university, for example. When I went to university, I was 16 years old. All my friends had a car. I said, Baba, I want a car. He said, go to work. I said, okay, let me come to your company. He said, no, go find someone else that's going to pay you. So I went to Showtime. Showtime, do you want someone? They said, we have a call center thing, and you're a UAE national, come. I went there, they paid me 3,000 dirham. I did a few months there. Call center said, it's done. So, HSBC then called and said, hey, you have call center experience. Why don't you come take care of our corporate call center? Just come do 3 hours a day. We'll give you a few thousand. And I was like, oh, I can buy my car. I can take a loan from the bank, 3,000 dirhams back in the day, 1,500 for my first car. And it was a new car. And yes, all my friends had their parents buy them a Mercedes and a BMW. But for me, because it was my first car and I was paying for it, I was happier than all of them. And today, it didn't end up so bad.
So would you say somewhere your dad was an entrepreneur?
Right.
You always saw how amazing it is to build a business because you are able to create jobs, you are able to solve problems.
Yeah.
You still went on, studied, worked in multiple banks. Would you agree that somewhere at the back of your mind you always wanted that one idea to come to you so that I can build something one day? Because what I've seen personally, while a lot of people build startups because they love it, but if you have a family background of business and entrepreneurship, it comes with its set of challenges, debt, lot of challenges, etc. But at the end of the day, the success which comes with it is very, very different. Would you say somewhere your father experience of building a business inspired you to become an entrepreneur?
Exactly. It's actually a story that ends with a tragedy. My father had, one of the biggest contracting companies here. When I say biggest, I'm saying the company employed 5,000 people.
Wow.
When my father died in 2010, the company employed. So 2008 was the world financial crisis, and for 2 years, no projects were taken. There was nothing going on, construction. So by 2010, the company had 500 people left. My father had passed away, and $20 million of debt.
Wow.
So here I am sitting with my brothers and sisters, and they're like, "You're the banker. You take care of it. No salary. What are we gonna do?" So I basically took over the family business. $20 million. I did three things that saved the family business. Number one, spoke to the banks, restructured $20 million over 10 years. You have to understand when the person that took the loan dies, the bank's position is a negotiating position because they need someone to sign to a repayment plan, even if they can sell assets. So that's the first thing. Restructure with the bank. Second thing, reduce 500 people to 35 people. Third thing I did was speak to the government to change the business activity from contracting to subleasing.
Mm-hmm.
So we wouldn't have operations. Our operation would just be take a cut, let them rent, pay the government, we keep a bit. pay off our loans. And that bit that we keep also for many years, we took nothing as shareholders of the company, and because it was in so much debt that we had to pay off, right? So the thing I wanted to say was, when my father died, I got this job. 9 months later, I had finished with the bank and everything, and that's kind of what pushed me to say, now you do it yourself, because there's no more, your father in the picture, and who's gonna do something next? I knew my brothers were all kind of like, this thing kind of negatively affected them, but for me it was the opposite. I felt that no, this is, my father did the first crusher plant, so he had a contracting company. They wanted stones. He went to Ras Al Khaimah, rented mountains and dynamited and blew them up. That was entrepreneurial. I would say, in his time, he basically, he had he basically cut down costs by doing that. And I thought in my time, it was actually, I wanted to do a startup. I didn't know what to do. And because I was someone looking for healthy food, it kind of manifested. I didn't know that I would do a company that would go to 5-6 countries.
I must say, as an Indian citizen, I have looked at UAE, the entire country, as a wonderful master plan of entrepreneurship. Like the rulers of the country, they planned things 20 years in advance. Like when the world was saying that, why would you go in the middle of a desert and buy properties?
Right.
The rulers said that, listen, we're going to make it one of the most famous tourist destination, the skyscrapers, the road, the network, the infrastructure, the airport. I think somewhere this entire country has a vibe of entrepreneurship. And looking at you, Mahmoud, honestly, you had a comfortable job. You could have continued working at a bank, but you took the risk. You went out in a completely uncharted territory, built a business where you had zero experience of food, scaled the brand, sold it, and today you are trying to give back to the community, working with a lot of entrepreneurs, guiding them. I think I must say that this is a perfect example of entrepreneurship, both at a country and at an individual level as well.
Thank you very much.
The new airport is announced.
Right.
And what is more impressive than the airport is the vision, where there was a statement where it is said that we are going to make 1 million new homes for 1 million new resident. I mean, that's a vision which makes a city truly global, and you make the city grow and the country grow. I think that's phenomenal.
Exactly. Infrastructure is first. You want the biggest city, you need the biggest airport to bring people in, right?
Yes.
And the cargo. And I'm really interested to see what will happen to where the airport is now, and will it be homes or buildings? Is it a new community? The old place, because I think they're all moving. But it was really good news, very big headline. $35 billion. It definitely catches attention, and I think Dubai is in the best place to grow. You have around you. Dubai's always been investor friendly. Leveraging best of everything. I think if you're looking at a place to do a startup, definitely co-founding with somebody who has access to the market is definitely the way to go. If I was to enter the Indian market, I'd find the Indian co-founder, someone who understands that market that I'm trying to go to. I think there's a lot of UAE nationals here that are looking to co-found with people. So if I was a startup in Denmark, in India, in Bengaluru, in any top city in the world, in Singapore, I'd think about, how do I partner with a sales and marketing guy from Dubai? Because if you want to launch in Dubai, it's hard to be the sales and marketing guy somewhere else. But a tech guy can easily, and that's kind of where I see entrepreneurship going. I'm not saying there has to be a UAE national and a non-UAE national. I'm just saying you want someone in the market and technology, because if I was just to say, from my friends, if from the 20 people that were in my class, at the time we had engineering, we had accounting, but we didn't really have technology. It's kind of like, you wouldn't, in my age, the thing was more on business, do telecom, air travel, like people didn't, technology it's still, so the younger generation have it. So I would say, look for someone that, if you're looking to go into a market, try to find a sales and marketing guy in that market.
Also a local expert, I would say.
Yeah.
Very important.
So you learn the ropes, right? Otherwise, you have to do the whole learning. Imagine I go into to Singapore now to do a startup. I need to learn 2 years just to understand, how it works. Who do I trust?
And the culture is also very important, right?
Right.
We cannot underestimate the culture, because that plays a very crucial role. My last question to you. Dubai has been a true playground for global people across the world. I mean, especially Indian. I mean, more than 50% people are Indian,
exactly.
Right? What would be your, what do you see as an outsider, a person coming for the first time to UAE to build a business? How easy or how difficult it is today?
You have good things and bad things. The good things are it's really competitive. Sorry, it's not good, but it's really competitive. Don't think you're not gonna have something and just make it. Those days where you just you'd have to probably go to Africa to get that kind of risk reward. But you'd have to do some analysis. It's really not so easy. But what you have is amazing policy, and you have a launch pad to take all of the GCC. So you have Saudi in there, you have Kuwait, all of them kind of same demographic in the GCC. So if you can crack it in Dubai, your product can go to the Middle East. So you should look at the Middle East, and the market entry point is Dubai. If you want to just come into Dubai to compete, at some point there will also be people coming in. But if you want to take it and then use it to go sideways, and if I was looking a bit down the line, I would know that the big checks, they come from the US. In today's world, the big checks are looking at how can I invest in a startup that goes left and right. So I'm talking about China and South America. So I'm talking about the $20 million check per person. You have some funds. So they're looking at, so the startup's vision needs to be kind of Africa and Southeast Asia or South America. I would say Africa, and because what are you giving that American company to not do directly? You're giving him access to the Middle East and left and right. So what is that product that could one day grow to move sideways, to take over those markets and can work? And that's the thing the entrepreneur needs to figure out. Like, where is that? Think of the whole region. Don't be limited to, I want to do one thing in one place. Your product might work for a lot of people. That healthy guy, that it could be in 5 countries, healthy people. The guy who wants to fly, I don't know, or a plane or do something, whatever service you want to offer, he's not just in that. Like, think a little bit out of the box. Get in the thing, post about it, ask companies, understand where your real customers, even before you just want to go and put money and start something. Today you have access to technology, you have really powerful tools, you have you can do a pitch deck in 20 minutes now. In 10 minutes you can do a pitch deck if you just know how to use Canva and you arrange things. You can go to an incubator and learn for free, or they might even fund you. Like, there's so many ways to get information. But you need to understand that it's your time, your equity is your time. You put 4 hours a day into a startup and someone else puts 4 hours a day, you will get somewhere.
Absolutely.
You're going to outsource it, you're not getting anywhere. Like, it's you that needs to improve, and that constant improvement is that startup. It's humans that drive things, until you get to a point where it's a Carrefour and you have systems that are scaled and you just, press play and 80% is done. Like Carrefour, if they fire 20% of their entire management, it'll still run. The system will order the tomatoes that finished. You know what I mean? So no one's there yet, but on the way there, it's that human capital that's the most important. So how do you develop your skills? Like, if me and you have an idea, how do you today go home, learn something, I learn something, we come back, the idea is there, but now I'm learning to do a pitch deck. You might be learning about, and it's to be humble about it and realize there is no outsourcing to someone else. You outsource. Like, get yourself a trainee to help you if you have too much work, but you should be doing the learning. You can't outsource thinking. You can't outsource learning.
Absolutely.
So, Mahmoud Bartawi, I think you've given us a lot of food for thought during this podcast. Thank you very much for joining us today. And Ravi K, been an absolute pleasure having you as a co-host. And for all our listeners out there, please stay tuned for more episodes from us where we speak to interesting founders and startup CEOs from across this region. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.